This is a video for my students about the research map assignment. You're seeing here what it looks like in spring 2015 for Ret 351, but I know that's going to be adapted for other classes and other times. There's an earlier video that I'll put right about here where you can see a little bit of the kind of research I'm hoping you to do, the kind of thoughtful, how you click, where you type sort of thing. So it might be helpful to watch that first. This is more of a when you actually have a map. For instance, here's an example of one that I've made. How did I get here? What specific steps did I get to show this map here? And what do all these little things mean? So that's what I'm going to walk you through kind of quickly. Research that I've already done. I'm going to explain what I did. So first, let's assume I had an article I really liked. In this case, Catherine Fargo Ahern's Tuning the Sonic Playing Field. Who knows how I got that? Maybe I found it through the databases. Maybe I got it through Google Scholar. Maybe I just saw it cited in something else. But let's assume I've got one that I'm like, yes, this is a really good article. What I would do, what I'm encouraging you to do, is to actually read it. What? Actually read it? Yeah, I'm actually encouraging you to read it and look for the pieces that she seemed to pay a lot of attention to. Now, I find when I read Ahern's piece here that she spends a lot of time with this Cynthia Self article. You see, like, she mentions it over and over and over. She's a block quote. She talks a lot more about this Jody Shipka piece. She talks about Wysocki from 2005, and she talks a lot about this Comstock and Hawkes piece. So there's kind of these four pieces that I see Ahern using over and over and over. And this is just in the introduction. That's all just in part one. So I'm kind of starting my task here as a let's kind of sketch out informally how Ahern relies on those four pieces. So I actually did this on paper first. I said, okay, well, she's here in 2013, and she discusses in depth these four, right? Now, you don't have to put the years. For me, I thought that made it a little easier. So if I'm like, wait, maybe there were multiple pieces by Self, maybe there were multiple pieces by Shipka or Wysocki, that kind of helps me know which one. So already it kind of looks messy, right? It's just kind of out. I know later on I'm going to clean that up. So that's where I started. So my next thought was, well, let's look some of these up. Let's see. Oh, wait, sorry. My next thought actually was first, has anyone cited Ahern? Was this an important piece since 2013? I know I'm recording this in spring 2015. There hasn't been much time. So this is when I go to Google Scholar. I put in the name of the article I'm reading. That's Ahern's article. And I see cited by one. And I see, okay, one person has already cited that. And if I click it, I see, okay, here's this piece here by Sarasso, Listening, Bodily Learning, and the Composition of Sonic Experiences. And sweet, Google Scholar is giving me a link to a PDF. It doesn't always do that, remember. I actually have it open here. Let's say I then read this one. I was like, man, that Ahern piece was so amazing. Let's see what happens in here. I do a lot of Control F to kind of see how did Sarasso use Ahern's piece. Did she rely on it a lot? Is it a huge part of her argument? In this case, it looks a little quicker than that. It's just kind of a little quick, hey, she's talking to other people who suggest ways to use sound in the classroom. And it's really just that one sentence and in the works cited. So she doesn't use it in this kind of deep, in-depth way, but she still uses it. Okay, I'm kind of keeping a mental track of that. My next question, though, is because I see this name, Comstock and Hawkes, and I'm like, wait a minute, didn't that show up back here? Are Ahern and Sarasso citing some of the same people? So the next thing I did, is as I went to the bottom of Sarasso's piece after I read it, and I looked for the names of these kind of important ones, the important ones from Ahern's article in Sarasso's article. In other words, does Comstock and Hawkes show up? Yep, there she is. What was the other one? Self, Shipka, Wysocki, 2005. Well, let's check it out. Self. Hey, she cites Self too. Shipka, she cites her too. Wysocki, not here. So 3 out of 4 of the ones that Ahern treated as really important are showing up here. That might be a clue to me that those are important ones too. So let's start looking those up as well. Again, there's a few ways to do that. I can use the library databases. I can use Google Scholar. I can just Google the name of it. Who knows where I'm going to find it? When I did that, I found one of them. Right? I found the Shipka article, and I thought, okay, this looks good. But I made this interesting discovery here. When I was looking at the bottom of Sarasso's piece, I noticed that the Comstock and Hawkes piece was in Computers and Composition, a special issue on sound in as compositional space. Maybe that's too small to see. But then I noticed that that exact same special issue shows up in the Shipka citation. Computers and Composition 23.3, 2006. 23/3/2006. So suddenly I'm like, wait a minute, it looks like this issue might be really important. In other words, I've got two citations coming from the exact same, so maybe there's something else interesting in there, or maybe it's worth looking those up. So that's what led me to look up Shipka. Then I ran into a little bit of a problem. I went to Google Scholar to look for the Comstock and Hawkes piece. I typed in the name of it, Voice in the Cultural Soundscape, and crap, I find people who have cited it, 10 other folks have. I find a little bit of a citation info, but there's no PDF, there's no link to it. So, how do I find it? Well, in my case, this is often where I go to the library databases. If you go click library, if you click the search all resources, you click article names, you can click for the name of an article you found, and you can say, okay, do we have access to that here? There's more of me doing that in my other video, remember. So I clicked it, and I got here, and I found, oh no, I have to request it via interlibrary loan. Now, maybe that shouldn't be so much of an oh no. I mean, I can click it, it's a pretty simple form to fill out. I'll show you. All I have to do is say, here's my name, my address. It already fills all the info in, and hey, I want this. It might not take very long, depending on how busy the interlibrary loan staff are here. But if I'm doing this right now, I couldn't find it. So I thought to myself, I wonder if there's another way to find it. And I saw back in the citation that this was also in a Computers and Composition Online article. So I Googled the name of that journal. I thought maybe I could find it. A lot of these other ones seem like they're online. But when I went to archives, I couldn't find anything from 2006. So I did see here, and see this is kind of the playful, I'm looking through all of the cracks attitude you have to take. I saw archived at compiled.org. Now that seems to suggest that this is there might be copies of these articles there. So I went there, I searched for the name of it, and I found again a copy of the citation, but when I click full text, it brings me to a bad link. Is this making sense? I know I'm going to get into all this stuff, but remember, I'm trying to find both articles that were in this special issue of Computers and Composition, not just one of them, and I've hit a dead end. Well, when that happens to me, if I find something that's on a public website but it's no longer good, I go to the Internet Archive. I go to archive.org. Have you ever done this? And I paste it in on the Wayback Machine, the name of the link, not the name, the link that currently is bad, and the Internet Archive says, oh, hey a minute, we have copies of that. We saved it. And some from 2013, some from all these other days. And when I click that date, it brings me here to an actual copy that is no longer currently up on the same place it used to be, but an interactive working copy that I can read. And I can go even to the works cited. So here's the reason I'm doing all that. I want to know, are these people citing some of the same people? Again, if I go way back here, are Comstock and Hawkes and Shipka reading some of the same people? Maybe this will give me something interesting that I can learn. Well, so what I found very quickly, this is a little messier now as I fill it in, I found that Shipka cites Wysocki, but a 2004 piece. I think I can make that a little bigger. Oh, not that big, sorry. A piece that, remember, Ahern cites Wysocki 2005. So Wysocki is citing stuff like crazy. It gets even more complicated. Comstock and Hawkes cite Wysocki 2001. Okay, I haven't read those yet, but I'm starting to get a sense here that the scholarly conversation here, in a lot of ways, at its core, at least in the last 15 years, is built on some of the work that Anne Wysocki did within 2001, 2005. Maybe there's even more that I haven't found yet. This is just kind of a quick run through. So I'm starting to realize through the process of this mapping that Wysocki is someone I need to look at. If I'm going to do a project that is based on some of this stuff, which is really about sound in composition and rhetoric classrooms, man, I've got to go to Wysocki. I can't ignore her work. So what I did is I went, in this case, to PowerPoint to create this, to kind of clean up a version of this. And you see what I did is I put these three important Wysocki pieces up here, and then as time goes on down, I made newer pieces towards the bottom. I connected these because these were both in the same special issue. And then at first, I didn't have this big crazy star over here by Self 2009. If you remember Self 2009, it's a piece that Ahern and Sarasso both quoted, but none of these other people have mentioned. Well, I mean, it's partly because of time, right? So I was like, I better go back to Self 2009. I better find a copy of it. I went to my trusty Google Scholar, typed in the name of it, found a PDF. Here it is. And I went to the works cited of Self's piece, 2009. And Self has a huge works cited. I mean, there's like a lot of impressive stuff here. I mean, I could just go through page after page after page of all the people that Self 2009 cites. But this is kind of interesting. Self 2009 doesn't cite any Wysocki. She doesn't cite Shipka. She doesn't cite Comstock and Hawkes. Now, that's okay, right? We all have slightly different conversations. But what that shows me is that Self is having a slightly different conversation than these other people who are all a lot more kind of intertwined and citing each other seem to be having. Self's conversation seems to be based a little bit less on the work of Wysocki, at least the way the citations seem to be telling me when I map them out. So when I was doing this in here, I'll show you, in PowerPoint, at first I just had Self 2009. I just kind of drew it there like that, but I thought that doesn't quite seem to replicate what I have, the stuff I want to say. So I added that in to kind of visually represent the discoveries I was making. I thought having Wysocki up here at the top also, in a way, visually represented some of the connections I found. So, what do I do now? Before I say what do I do now, let me really, really quickly show you why I use PowerPoint. I think it's really easy to go to Insert, Shapes, and draw whatever kind of shape I want, including if I pick like a little arrow like this, I can just, if I hover over a box, you see how it makes little things pop up. I can click there, and from Sarasso, I can connect to whatever other box I want. It's really easy to draw connections. Once I draw them, let me just kind of do this one. Oh, right, because I forgot to connect them. Huh. Once I have that connection, I can click this format up here and change the color, change the weight, make it look as different or as similar as I want. I'm glad I remembered to do that because I need to change that. And actually, it's going the other way. I can also, readjust it to make it point this way. Blah blah blah. So PowerPoint is not what you have to do. You can do this on paper. You can do this using Photoshop, using any other kind of drawing program you want to use. But I thought PowerPoint was a simple thing that you might have access to that you could do. So that's why I used that one now. Okay. If I go to that assignment though, right? Remember way back here, I'm asking you not just to map the relationships between 8 to 12. I have 8 in this case. They're all peer reviewed. I'm also asking you to add some other things, like maybe summarize these sources some. Tell me how authoritative and credible they seem. What parts are going to be useful to you? Are there any really, really good quotes here? Write a detailed statement. Okay, you have some options here. If I had done this map in some other program, if I'd done it on a huge piece of poster board, I probably would have done some of this stuff in the map itself. I would have actually written a little summary, written some notes on authority, credibility, blah, blah, blah. Because I did it in PowerPoint, I don't really have room for all of that. So I'm just going to add that to my detailed statement. I'm going to make sure when I'm discussing this stuff, I'm going to say, well, here's my focus. A here in 2013 is in some ways kind of the center of my piece. Here's what I discovered. Here's a great quote from here. Here's why I thought she seemed so credible. Here's a little what I found about her source. So I am going to flesh that out in what will probably end up being a lengthy yet informal piece of writing. But that writing is going to be so crucial for two reasons. It's going to tell me, your audience, what you found, how in-depth you went, what stones you unearthed to find things. Awesome. It's going to be really awesome ethos builder. 2, your statement is going to help you as you go back and use these sources in your essay. In other words, when you're writing your final project, you're going to be able to say, wait, I don't have to remind myself, wait, was Comstock and Hawkes the one that seemed a little shorter, not as in-depth, or was that Shipka, or was that Wysocki 04? You've got it all. In other words, you're taking detailed sort of notes, both visual and written, that are going to directly help you do your final project. That's the goal here, to be helpful. Okay, that was a lot. I hope it helped. See you later.